Okay, good afternoon. Today we are here to talk about providing some clarity with priority standards and teachers. So I'm going to skip on. If you're following my network, I'm sure you know a little bit about my history and background. So I will skip over that slide. Just a quick reminder of why we're even talking about the priority standards today is keeping in mind as we're all ready for the MSIP 6 shifts that one of the biggest one is that 30% of continuous improvement, which just really shows the need to shore up our curriculum assessment to be aligned to the priority standards. That's going to be one of the things they look for. So some of the ideas I give you today will help you with that. Also, this idea that starting this past year, 80% of our MAP and EOC assessments are covering the priority standards. And the state has told us, you know, with a rough estimate that by 2024, 80 to 90% of all those MAP and EOC assessments will be over the cover the priority standards. So that's the why that we're here today. We need to make sure that teachers are clear on those because our schools are going to be heavily judged on that. So I didn't check the number on this one. I should have. Ignore the number. But the very first thing that we need to do is just make sure your teachers know where the priority standards are. So in just a moment, I'm actually going to flip over to the DESE website and make sure everybody knows how to access those. It's going to actually be one of my recommendations as well that you take teachers on a tour of the DESE website just to make sure they know how to access them. But here they are. They were done K through 12 and all 4 core contents. ELA, they did prioritize MLS. Math are prioritized. In your science standards, all of the standards are priority. And in social studies, they have not prioritized content, but they have prioritized the tools of inquiry, which are those thinking skills that students need to have in order to find information. So moving away from this idea that we're just going to have all that social studies memorized. And it really makes the case of pulling ELA and social studies integration a lot more with those tools of inquiry that students know how to consume a resource or a text to find social studies information. So I wanted to start off with some clarity activities and then model a couple of them. One, the first idea I would say is this sounds simple, print your priority standards. I'm going to show you how to take a walk of those. I thought it's just because I'm getting old and in my 40s that I like hard copies, but a lot of people like them. And one of the best things you can do is just have those hard copies printed off for your teachers. And one of the most powerful things that I've engaged in, if you have the time with upcoming PD, is allowing your teachers to have time to talk about their priority standards vertically. So giving them those priority standards, have them just do a simple note and wonder, are there any priorities that surprise you? Are there any that you haven't taught? Are there any that you like currently your curriculum has really heavy and now you're not noticing it on priorities? And just chart that and have each grade level do it individually, kindergarten, first grade, 12th, and then put your chart paper around the room and let people do a gallery walk. What we found, I'm going to give you an example, is in math, where people have kind of put out here that if we had to summarize our priority standards, here would be the big contents. And what we found, for instance, in money, not in kindergarten, not in first grade, second grade, they've got to be able to count and take away from, you know, $2 or something. That's a really great activity for teachers to see. Kindergarten and first grade, it may not be a priority, but let's add that to your chart. If you're not doing your part, second grade won't be ready. Additionally, by 4th and 5th grade, you see what a huge weight fractions are for teachers. It's very important that your 2nd through 3rd grade teachers see that so they know, even if it's not identified as a priority, it's a chunk of 4th grade. So I just had someone on the call saying prioritizing your priorities, but also making sure, even though our assessments are going to be aligned to that, it doesn't mean we won't make some specific choices as teaching other and covering with thoroughly other concepts. Step 2 is taking a tour of the DESE website. So I'm actually going to hop out of this and just model because there might be some people watching this call who sometimes have trouble finding DESE things. So the easiest way I teach teachers to find the priority standard, you're an educator, so go there and then this drop down tool on the left, you go to curriculum, you'll always see this quick links box. Now over here to the right, you have all your core contents. This is a plug, not for priority, but you know, even for your science teachers, health, fitness, there are things on here for a lot. These things are updated a lot. Facts. There are a lot of things that your teachers don't know are on the DESE website. So I would encourage them just to come here and focus on their content anyway. If you go to Educators Curriculum, you can see right at the top, it's got priority standards, which is going to take you to this page that I had on the slide. So here they are. You can click on each one of these boxes and it will take them right to it. So I just think it's important, maybe even, you know, save it as a shortcut, make sure they can get to it. You'll notice underneath here now, there are also some supporting materials. So if you haven't checked those out, I'm most familiar with ELA. It's actually going to take us to an external website, but they have some vertical alignment tools that are down here and available. So I would just recommend that your teachers, or if you're in the curriculum office, that you take the time to kind of sort through here and see what, I'm not as familiar with math. So I want to click on there really quick and just see what math has. So an Excel version that shows them how they connect with priority and supporting. So again, just this idea of letting your teachers do a bit of a gallery walk, even looking at additional resources, etc., can be really the why behind the priority standards if they're unsure of that. But this is where you find them, and make sure you check out some of those supporting materials. The tour of the DESE website is just sometimes helpful. The next step, I apologize, dig into the supporting resources, which I kind of showed you. In ELA, they have vertical progressions that show teachers how their standards kind of build on each other. And, you know, math was trying to do something similar. So again, letting them take a look and then have the conversation, how might we use these documents within our PLC meetings, etc. And then the last recommendation I would have, after they get to know them, they've had some discussion about them, kind of reconciled the new priority standards from what they've done in the past, they need to be pacing those into pacing guides. So, you know, this is an example of one where you have a unit, the name of your unit, and clearly defining where do those priority standards live. So in this particular document, when it's in priority standards, it's saying we're going to assess it. There's certain things like active listening, teachers might assess through a checklist every quarter. There's other priority standards that we're just going to check at one time, expect them to be mastered and moved on. So this idea of how do we clump standards and how do we pace them, teachers need to really have time to think about that and put it in a nice, clear format so they can have a map of how they're going to attack teaching those. Just another example of clearly delineating for teachers which of your standards in each unit are priority and which are supporting. So some great documents that you can use for clarity are the item specifications, MOLEAP blocks. If you're not aware of those are a huge resource when it comes to making assessments, especially for your social studies and science teachers. The heavy lifting is really done for them and they're state aligned. And then map released items are also very helpful. Using vertical progressions, ELA has those. Here's just another example of something that our company does, is helping people understand the vocabulary within their priority standards and how those standards build from grade to grade. And the next thing that we would recommend, once your teachers are aware of the priority standards, is helping them understand with clarity what those standards mean. Not only are they unwrapping the standard, but they're looking at sample assessment questions to really have clarity of what a proficient kid should be able to do. So our next step here and suggestion is you should be creating or purchase proficiency scales, which is something unique that our company does right now just for ELA. But helping teachers, I'll show in the next slide, really delineate what's the difference between a level 4, a level 3, and a level 2 student. And then conversely, on our form, we've even embedded all those great state documents I talked to you about with the item specifications, etc. We've embedded all of those things right into our proficiency scales and given teachers some ideas of here's how you might go teach those. Because when you have a proficiency scale, you unwrap the standard and you've given them idea of here's what a proficient question looks like, sounds like, that's when teachers really understand what the heart of what they're trying to get at with their standards. Again, our company has tools to help with that in ELA. The state has a lot of that completed for social studies and science through their MoBlocks. So if you're not utilizing those, that's a great way to help anchor teachers into what is proficient. So at the end of the day, clarity of the standards, our company believes really builds confidence in teaching, which is why we wanted to do this session today on making sure your teachers are aware of the priority standards, having time to dig into them, know where to find them, and you begin on the journey and having clarity of what it truly means to be proficient in those, so you can help your teachers make accurate assessments that are map aligned that they can backward design from. So thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on the network or through email. Thank you for your time. I'm going to pause the recording.